The biggest reason for low GMAT scores is not a lack of knowledge or silly mistakes. It is running out of time. On the GMAT, you're not tested on just solving high school math and reading, many of the skills you learned in elementary school, but rather you are tested on time management. Here's what time management looks like. Now, this person got 8 wrong. They got a 23rd percentile. Remember that number. 8 mistakes, 23rd percentile. Here's a screenshot of someone who made the same number of mistakes but managed their time well. Again, they made 8 mistakes, but they scored the 60th percentile. Which would you rather have? 23rd percentile or 60th percentile? Of course, the scoring on GMAT is much more complicated than this, but you can be sure of one thing. The less your time is wasted, the better your percentile. If there's only one takeaway you make from today's video, that should be pace yourself. This means you need to guess questions. Now, yes, you heard me right. If you can't solve a question in 2 minutes, you need to guess and you move on. Your goal is to get the highest score, and sometimes getting a high score means giving up on a hard question. Now, one question will not save your test, but it can ruin it. Remember, no question is sacred. I want to make sure you absolutely get the point that yes, you will be doing something very uncomfortable when you abandon a question. You will be guessing and moving on if you have not been able to solve it in 2 minutes. It will feel uncomfortable and counterintuitive, but that's the discipline it takes when you aim for a high score. I will dive in more about the exact timing details and best practices, so don't worry about minutes quite yet. But just don't get depressed. There's some good news. GMAT allows you to change answers in up to 3 questions per section, so if you had to guess a hard question, you can go back and try solving it again. And the score will be calculated based on the final answer. GMAT does not deduct points for changing an answer. Once you master the concept that no question is sacred and that it is okay to guess, there are more advanced timing strategies available. I would recommend that you save and bookmark this video so you can quickly revise the strategies whenever you want to. Hit the like and subscribe button and come back later to review these strategies. Now, here are 4 timing strategies that will help you on the GMAT. Number 1, turn off the timer. On the test, you can click the timer icon and it will hide the countdown timer. I want you to only look at it 3 times, after the first third of the test, after the second third, and close to the end. Now, this may again sound counterintuitive and seems like it would be better if you have the clock in front of you at all times, right? However, not having a constant pressure of the clock will actually increase your concentration and will help you move faster. This small step has been proven to work many times by many people who scored a 99th percentile on the GMAT. If you are taking practice tests, start utilizing the strategy. Yes, you will be a mess in the first test, but your results will improve with practice as you gain confidence. Just like a train optimizes its route by making stops at particular stations, you need to master when you're going to look at the clock. For example, let's take Quant. I'm going to make 3 stops to look at the clock: at the start of the question number 6, at the start of question number 11, and at the start of question number 16. Here's also a table for each of the sections. Pause if you want to look at verbal and data insights timing tables. They're slightly different, so I've answered 5 questions and should have 35 minutes left. If I have more than 35 minutes left, I feel good and can now afford to potentially spend a little bit more time on some of the harder questions in the next stretch of 65. If I have less than 35 minutes, I need to speed up to catch up. This means the next 5 questions need to be done faster. I need to pick up pace. This process is fast, by the way, and takes perhaps 3 to 5 seconds only. Now I turn off the clock again and work on the next 5 questions. The second time I look at the timer, I will be on the 11th question and I should have 25 minutes left. Again, if you have more time, that's awesome. And if you have less, well, again, you need to catch up and should not be spending more than 2 minutes on any single question. 5 minutes before the end of your test, your timer will actually kick in automatically and there's no way to turn it off, but that's fine as you should be in your last few questions or perhaps even doing a review of some of the questions you guessed. So what do you do when you face a hard question? From experience of our users and solving thousands of questions, I can tell you that if you can't solve a question within 2 minutes, continuing to struggle with it even for another few minutes in most cases will not help. Remember, you only have about 2 minutes per question. Only spend what you can afford. Often you can solve easier questions faster, allowing you to bank extra time for harder ones. However, your maximum time for any tough question should be 3 minutes and no more. And if you reach the 2-minute mark without a clear path to an answer, bookmark the question, get guess and move on. You can come back later. Now, this approach will make much better use of your time during the test. By the way, there are a number of easy ways you can save time on the GMAT. Here are 2 quantitative mental math suggestions that will help you save a minute or more on the test. Not huge, but on the plus side, these are also pretty easy to apply. Number 1, learn common arithmetic shortcuts. This means not only knowing perfect squares from 1 to 10, but also from 11 to 20. Number 2, learn the values of square roots up to 20 at the least. For example, square root of 3 is 1.7 and square root of 2 is about 1.4. It's not that hard. Again, I will link both of these in the description. There's a strategy for verbal as well, but it will take some time to master. A lot of times on the GMAT you can read fast, but because the text is so complex, you have to slow down to actually comprehend it. Improving your comprehension speed can help you move faster and again save time. The best way is to read about 1,000 pages from an interesting classic fiction book that uses longer sentences and more complex ideas than comic books. Advanced timing strategies. These are advanced strategies you need mastery of the previous mentioned strategies. Before applying these, if you can, try to apply them and your time management skills will improve a lot. Time box hard questions. This strategy involves identifying hard questions quickly and instead of attempting them, saving them for later. It requires a good sense of your abilities as well as a good awareness about which questions are hard for you. Here's how it would work. In every section, you can bookmark questions for review and edit them later if you have time left in the section. There is a catch though. You can only change the answers of up to 3 questions. So now you have to select what questions to keep for later or what questions to time box. Time boxing works in a simple way. If you can figure out that the question will take more than 2 to 3 minutes to solve, make an educated guess. Bookmark the question for later review and move on to the next question. The number of hard questions in each section varies, but a good estimate is to have 9 minutes left for 3 time box questions in the quant section, and try to reserve 10 minutes for 3 time box questions in the data insight section. Verbal questions usually won't require time boxing, but you can try and form your own strategy if it works for you. When you come back to solve the time box section, you will have a better perspective on what questions to solve first, as you would have read them once already. By now, you must have figured out that GMAT is as much about time management skills as it is about knowledge and mental abilities. Your brain works very differently under pressure. If you are given 5 hours to solve the paper, you would get a perfect score. So you need to train your brain to perform under pressure. Select a time to give the GMAT when you know your brain is going to be fresh and practice your mocks during that time of the day. Your brain will get used to operating at full capacity without any fogginess, and this will help save you loads of time during the day of the actual GMAT test. Apart from this, eat well, sleep well, especially in the last week leading up to the exam. Lastly, I want to say that this advice won't be useful until you work with it regularly, so keep practicing and subscribe to GMAT Club for more tutorials around GMAT. Thanks for watching, guys, and see you guys in the next video. Bye!